Personally, I don't recommend flossing, whether it's with water floss or string floss, but to try and get rid of gum disease, get rid of periodontal pathogens in pockets around your teeth with a length of string. It's absurd. Water flosses are popular, and in this video I will explain why you may or may not want to buy yourself a water flosser. I'm going to explain how they can help improve mouth health, but they're not for everyone. And the biggest question is, what are you putting into your water flosser? And how does it really improve your health? I would say that in the majority of cases, if you have a healthy mouth, particularly if you're a teen or an early adult, or you feel that you're kind of a lazy brusher, you don't really like it, and you like the idea of a water flosser and want to go through the learning process, then by all means, I think a water flosser is way better than using string floss. As many people know, I am not an advocate of string floss in any way, shape, or form. Many of them contain PFAS chemicals. They are very difficult. Floss is extremely difficult to use well. There's all these techniques that dentists and hygienists will teach you. And in my opinion, there are such much easier ways if you're trying to get rid of plaque, that you can get rid of plaque with rinsing with a good toothbrush, just flicking the particles out with far less risk of causing damage. I am convinced that in cases where people have a dry or acidic mouth, over-flossing leads to gum disease, actually creates potentially gum recession. And if you don't know why you have gum recession, one of the first things I would suggest, especially if you have a dry or acidic mouth, if you're pregnant, or if you're going through menopause, or perhaps if you're an athlete, that you consider you may be over-flossing or flossing poorly. In these cases, I am sure that water flossing is going to help you. The problem is that if you have gum disease, I believe you will find, and gum disease is a problem when the gum separates from the tooth and it creates a pocket. It creates an actual space between the gum and the surface of the root of your tooth. And into that space go periodontal pathogens, bacteria that cause periodontal disease. And if you floss, if you are jetting that, thinking you are cleaning out that pocket, which is a very nice, simple image in your mouth, your problem may be twofold. One, you may actually be jetting or flossing those bacteria into your bloodstream. And if you think that that is a crazy idea, why don't we test it out? Nobody that I know has ever done a study of how many bacteria enter the bloodstream after somebody has had a dental cleaning and flossing done of their mouth if they have gum disease. What I do know is when we looked at the carotid health of dentists as a group, many of these dentists ended up showing that they had a lot of plaque in their carotid artery. In other words, they had a lot of buildup. They had a lot of problems going on in their carotid arteries. We don't know if it's because they had a lot of cleanings, how much more they had than the average person in the public. This whole thing of carotid artery health and gum health has not yet, in my opinion, been fully explored. And it should be, because this is a life and death situation. Personally, I don't recommend flossing, whether it's with water floss or string floss, if you have gum disease, because of the risk of pushing bacteria into your bloodstream. Get your mouth healthy first with other ways, other methods. And of course, I'm going to recommend xylitol and the use of my complete mouth care system, because that will, in different ways, it does it differently by reducing plaque, and the massage that I teach with the special toothbrushes that I recommend will get your gums to be healthy again without the need for this additional flossing. Then if you want to floss, by all means. And you can do that at the toothpaste stage of my complete mouth care system with a string floss that ideally doesn't have PFAS chemicals in it. And if you want to cover it with a little bit of toothpaste and move that toothpaste just gently in and out between your teeth, if that makes you happy, I am not against that. But to try and get rid of gum disease, get rid of periodontal pathogens in pockets around your teeth with a length of string, it's absurd. And there's so much easier ways to do this. And I know that a water flosser sounds like it would be an adjunct, and it may help you. It may be way better than string floss. But if you keep jetting these pockets with a water flosser, you will probably never get the pockets to heal. They will always be there. And you may do some salivary testing and find that your disease, the pathogens, have gone away, but your pockets are still there. And your dentist maybe just decide your pockets are always going to be there. I would recommend to you, give up that water flosser, use my complete mouth care system, which does more than a water flosser, more gently than a water flosser, is very similar in many, many ways, because I recommend mouth rinsing, mouth washing, and I recommend mouth washes that stun dentists, because in dentistry, we have been trained that there's no way for a mouth rinse to get down into a pocket, that there's no way to get rid of subgingival calculus, this is the crusty stuff under the gum, without hygienist tools. If you try my complete mouth care system for a month or two, you will find that your gum disease will start to get better. And it gets better because the specific rinses that I recommend do get down the pocket. And the reason they get down the pocket is that they interact with your saliva. And if you think about it, your saliva is able to go everywhere. That's how those periodontal pathogens got into your pocket. They were in your saliva, and the saliva is a very good surfactant. It goes right down, just like imagining your pockets are like the cuticles on your fingernails. They're able to get between that cuticle and the nail, between the gum and the tooth. And when the saliva goes down there, so does the mouth rinse. The closest that I recommend is the pre-rinse before you brush. And when in that pocket, then it cleans that pocket. Same thing with the other rinses that I recommend. They are recommended because they work with your saliva and they get into where we need them to go. So all mouth rinses are not created equal. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. If you do have a water flosser, what are you putting inside it? So let's address this question. If you do decide you do want to use the water flosser, that you haven't got periodontal pockets and that you're not using my complete mouth care system, or you're not at this moment, then what are you going to put in that machine? And if you just put water, it may help. Salt water is an option that I don't disapprove of. I would not recommend baking soda or peroxide or Listerine or scope, and closest is expensive. And so this is where it becomes difficult. And maybe I should explain why I would not put those other things in there. Everybody knows part of my complete mouth care system is the use of these liquids, like specifically Cool Mint or Original Listerine. Why would you not put that in a water flosser? And the reason I wouldn't put it in a water flosser, and many people use this water flosser before they brush their teeth, if you brush directly after Listerine, Listerine has made the water acidic. If you put a pH testing strip in Listerine or in the water flosser that has Listerine in it, you will find that it's pretty acidic. It's usually around 4. And at that pH, that acidity, you are going to soften your enamel, and that would be the last thing you want to use prior to brushing your teeth. Scope wouldn't probably do anything. The Other mouth rinses that are out there on the marketplace, I don't like and don't recommend. So before you brush your teeth, the only thing that I could recommend really would be salt water, probably putting some salts into your water flosser. If you want to use the water flosser after you brush, which is unusual, then perhaps you could use it as a final thing, and especially for somebody perhaps who's using it because they have braces and they just want to really clean around, make sure there are no particles left. You might want to put a little ACT, the ACT 0.05 sodium fluoride rinse with water into the water flosser. It would not be a bad thing to add as a final rinse. And if you wanted to, you could add to that a little xylitol. You see, xylitol would be a good ending in the water flosser. And on that note, you would need warm water to dissolve the xylitol. Xylitol crystals will only dissolve in warm or room temperature or above temperature water. So in this water flosser, I think you have three things you could use. You could use salts in there. I think there would be no damage or harm from that. I think you could use the ACT rinse, a little bit of ACT, especially if you're doing this with a teenager with braces. That would be a helpful adjunct. And I think you can use with any of those or mix and match or put them all in together, some xylitol. So those would be my recommendations for your water flosser, qualified by the fact that you don't have pocketing, you don't have gum disease, and you are using this in a healthy mouth. Otherwise, I would have you get your mouth healthy first, not using a water flosser, but using my complete mouth care system exactly how I recommend it. And then once your mouth is healthy, then maybe you can transition and try these other things.